Chapter 36, Unwelcome Visitors. The family meeting at the Xia household concluded with the preliminary decision to bring Xia Xiaolan and her mother back. Unfortunately, Lu Fan and Xia Xiaolan were being quite stubborn. They had been staying in Qijing village for over 10 days and had yet to express any intention of returning home. Xia Laotai had no fondness for this mother-daughter duo, but she couldn't deny that Lu Fan, despite her inability to bear a son, was an exceptional worker in the fields. She was always ready to take on any labor, and she surpassed Zhang Cui and Wang Jingui combined in this regard. Wang Jingui had a tendency to be lazy, and Zhang Cui, who had spent a few years in the county town, was somewhat unfamiliar with field work. However, everyone agreed that Xia Xiaolan should stay with Lu's family. They hoped that their daughters-in-law would understand their point of view and handle the situation well. Xia Laotai was concerned about this and couldn't sleep well at night. The Xia family members all lived in the same compound, so speaking quietly was necessary in the evenings. Zhang Cui and Xia Changxing shared the same idea, and they wanted to bring Xia Xiaolan back to the Xia household. Their plan was to keep Xia Xiaolan at home, find a suitable suitor for her, and get her married off as soon as possible. With her tarnished reputation, they thought she would have difficulty finding a husband. Zhang Cui thought, as long as we can bring Xia Xiaolan back, we'll find her a decent husband. After all, her reputation is already ruined. It doesn't matter if it's an old bachelor or a widower. In fact, even Zhang Erlai would do. As long as it's not an illicit relationship with Zhang Erlai, their marriage would be legitimate. Xia Changxing agreed with this plan. He believed that Xia Xiaolan could be brought back temporarily, and then they could find a suitable husband for her. After all, her reputation was already in tatters. Whether it was an old bachelor, a widower, or even Zhang Erlai, it didn't matter. As long as they got married, it would solve the problem. The funny thing was that Wang Jingui and Xia Laotai had the same idea, but in the opposite direction. They believed that Xiaofan could return, but Xia Xiaolan must never come back. Wang Jingui said, "Look at the way my big sister-in-law looked today, unwilling and grudging. If Xiao Ziyu can find Wang Jianhua, what's wrong with my family Hongxia? She just didn't continue her education. For a girl, knowing how to read and write is enough. Graduating from college would make her an old maid." Xia Hongbing was extremely tired and impatient. He said, "Hongxia isn't cut out for studying. If you go to Lu's house tomorrow, don't just act like a villain. A bratty girl like her can't cause that much trouble. When you bring her back, lock her up, and then find her a husband who's roughly the same. In any case, her reputation is already ruined. Even an old bachelor or a widower will do, as long as she gets married and the gossip will gradually die down." Wang Jingui agreed, but she hadn't changed her mind at all. Interestingly, Zhang Cui and Xia Changxing, the couple, had the same idea as Wang Jingui and Xia Laotai. They wanted to bring Xia Xiaolan back home. Zhang Cui believed that they could bring Xia Xiaolan back, lock her up, and then find a suitable husband for her. As long as Xia Xiaolan was at home, they could control her actions. Xia Changxing agreed with this plan. Late at night, they continued to discuss various matters. Since Xia Ziyu had gone to study in Beijing, Zhang Cui couldn't use the excuse of taking care of her daily life to stay in the county town. Xia Changxing was concerned about their family business, and he asked, "Will your younger sister-in-law be able to handle things at the store? Will there be any problems?" Zhang Cui replied, "What kind of problems could there be? Your younger brother and sister-in-law are just helping out of kindness. Without this store, where will your daughter's dowry come from, and where will your son find the dowry for his future wife?" Xia Changxing thought that Xia Ziyu's uncle was like plucking feathers from a goose every day. He constantly handled the money, and even a small amount was a loss for their family. The shop was opened under the guidance of her daughter Yu. It grew from a street stall to renting storefronts, with the business getting better and better. With booming business, Xia Xiaolan didn't have a moment's peace, saying, "You should still watch the place yourself. After we resolve that girl's situation, we'll come clean to the family. Just say it's a shop opened by your maternal family, and you're helping out there to earn some living expenses for you." Zhang Cui couldn't wait to stay long-term in the county town rather than farming in the village. She said, "You should go too. The shop is short on help. Once you're there, call brother Yu back. With both of us there, we can keep the business going. Let me think more, sleep early tonight. Still need to go to Chiang village tomorrow morning." Xia Dajuan was up before dawn, while Wang Jingui yawned. Zhang Cui looked quite spirited. Xia Dajuan was going to the Yu family, a rare annual visit, and was going to pick up Lu Fen and her daughter, so he couldn't show up empty-handed. But he was so poor his pockets were as clean as his face. Xiao Laotai could only prepare some gifts for him. What gifts? It just so happened to be the white sugar and noodles that Lu Yong had bought last time. The noodles were eaten, the sugar untouched, so Xia Dajuan took that over. At this time gifts were always the same batch of items, you give me, I give him, just a few packages circulating among all. Everyone was used to it. Of course, giving someone back the exact same item was too uncouth. The gift still had to be picked over a little. Not just uncouth, downright petty. Xiao Laotai was just such a petty person, and Xia Dajuan didn't find it abnormal. The three of them carried the bag of sugar, ate 2 steamed sweet potatoes, and walked to Chiang village before dawn. Xia Dajuan led the 2 women hurrying along. They arrived at Chiang village before 8 a.m. Xia Xiaolan was just about to go out and collect eels. Opening the door, she found Xia Dajuan with Zhang Cui and Wang Jingui standing outside. Her expression immediately turned cold. "Xiaolan, eat a little more, you'll be hungry on the road later." However busy making money was, she couldn't neglect her health. Lu Fen rushed out carrying an enamel pot. Inside were dumplings, prepared in case Xia Xiaolan got hungry along the way. Seeing Xia Dajuan with the 3 people, she choked on her words, unable to react at all, just standing there blankly. Xia Xiaolan sighed. No matter how extensive theoretical training was, actual practice was another matter. "Yo, sister-in-law, are you so happy you're silly? We walked all the way here, with sore feet and legs, and you don't ask us in." Wang Jingui eyed the enamel pot in Lu Fen's hands, involuntarily salivating. She could smell it was pork and scallion filling, unconventional fare. No wonder the Xia mother and daughter were unwilling to return. Lu Yong really struck it rich, buying a bicycle, and able to eat meat dumplings at home. Wang Jingui licked her lips. The sweet potato she ate before going out didn't do the job. Smelling the aroma of dumplings made her hungry. She said, "Sister-in-law, you made dumplings? Perfect since we haven't eaten." Xia Xiaolan didn't want the Xia family taking any advantage. Hearing something wrong, Li Fengmei came out from the room. Seeing the 3 Xias blocking the door. "Oh, I wondered who it was, blocking the door so early. What is it, looking to fight? Let me tell you, this isn't Day Village. Old Lu's people won't let you bully as you please." Li Fengmei stood with hands on hips, full of imposing manner, stubbornly not letting the 3 Xias in. Xia Xiaolan parked her bicycle, wanting to quickly send the 3 Xias away. She still had to go out and collect eels. Putting it simply, Commerce Department Chief Hu Yongkai had ordered 20 caddies of eels. Xia Xiaolan couldn't stand him up. Very calmly she said. "Auntie, let them in to talk. Please help call my uncle over. If we don't clear this up today, there will still be trouble in the future." It was rare to sleep in the countryside. Though it was only 8 a.m., many had already seen the three Xias blocking the door. Xia Xiaolan didn't think it a big deal. She didn't feel embarrassed at all, though her mother might feel uneasy. Xia Xiaolan considered Lu Fen's feelings to some extent. Zhang Cui followed behind, secretly sizing up Xia Xiaolan. This niece still looked just as shameless, but her calm and unhurried manner made her seem much more poised. It seemed like after not dying from hitting the wall, Xia Xiaolan had changed. She couldn't be allowed to run loose outside anymore, otherwise no one in the Xia family could control her. Zhang Cui felt a little panicked inside. Chapter 37, No Regrets. Early in the morning, Lu Yong went to the ditch to catch eels. Li Fengmei found him on the other side of the ditch, and the couple hurried back home, fearing that Xia Xiaolan and her mother might suffer. When they reached their doorstep, they noticed people outside their house, and since they couldn't stop Lu Yong, they grabbed Li Fengmei instead. Everyone started talking at once. "Has your little sister-in-laws finally arrived? It's Xia Dajuan, right?" This time, the two of them caused quite a commotion. Orphaned has been staying at her mother's for quite a while. "Fengmei, your little sister-in-law is quite pitiful. Don't be in a rush to drive them away. Show her some support." Lu Fen was hardworking, not much into dressing up, and her appearance was plain and unremarkable. She posed no threat to the village women, but it also meant she had been unfortunate. She hadn't borne a son for the Xia family, and in the Xia family's eyes, a daughter-in-law like Lu Fen couldn't be tolerated. It was a tough life for women like Lu Fen, who didn't give birth to sons. In a village like this, people were quick to pass judgment. Qijing village was Lu Fen's family's village, and they had lived there for 3 generations, having broken free from the status of outsiders. The people in the village were all supportive of Lu Fen and her daughter. Li Fengmei thanked everyone for their kindness and finally managed to escape. When she got home, she found several people sitting in the living room. Lu Yong occupied the main seat, while Xia Xiaolan and her mother sat to his left. To his right sat the Xia family members. There were no signs of a fight, and Li Fengmei breathed a sigh of relief. If a fight were to break out, her husband would surely be at a disadvantage, and she would have to call on the villagers for help. Lu Yong's eyes were filled with disgust as he said, "So, what's the purpose of your visit today? Didn't we discuss this before?" The Xia family's 2 women dared to come, thinking he wouldn't notice. Lu Fen had often been pushed around by the 2 sisters-in-law when she was at the Xia family's house. Zhang Cui was like a biting dog, always silent, and Wang Jingui was the chief troublemaker under Grandma Xia. Both of them were troublemakers. Xia Dajuan glanced at Lu Fen, who was looking down at the ground. In the past 10 days, Lu Fen had not shown any concern for him. She had even stopped speaking to him, and Xia Xiaolan was the same. They didn't even acknowledge his presence. Xia Dajuan suppressed his anger and said, "I've come to pick up my wife and her mother. We've finished our work in the fields, and her mother's illness has improved." Xia Dajuan's intention was that his family had already forgiven Xia Xiaolan. He had come to pick them up, and they could return home peacefully. Xiaolan's reputation was tarnished, which was frustrating, but on the way here, big sister-in-law Zhang Cui had assured him that they would help Xia Xiaolan find a suitable in-law. They would ensure she got married and settled down. Lu Yong had a headache. Communicating with a thick-headed person like Xia Dajuan was not easy, and it seemed like Xia Dajuan hadn't taken his previous words to heart. He said, "Often doesn't want to live with you anymore, and you two haven't gone through any formalities. Write a note, press your thumbprints, and from that point on, you'll go your separate ways. In the 1980s rural China, many couples had been living together for decades without obtaining a marriage certificate. People didn't really care about it. Marriage was seen as a lifetime commitment, and even in the face of disagreements, few thought about divorce. Marriage certificates weren't of much use to people. If Lu Fen didn't want to live with Xia Dajuan anymore, she could just take her things and leave. Legally, no one could force her to stay. However, Lu Yong was worried that the Xia family might cause trouble for Lu Fen in the future. He wanted both parties to sign a document for their peace of mind. Xia Dajuan found his big brother-in-law's persistence troublesome. He was visibly upset, and Zhang Cui saw that the situation wasn't going well, so she quickly intervened. Brother-in-law, as the saying goes, it's better to tear down 10 temples than to destroy a marriage. After 20 years, it's normal for a married couple to have their disagreements. If you insist on separating them, you should trust Xiaolan. She will get married eventually. When her future in-laws hear that Xiaolan's parents are no longer together, it won't sound good, will it? Lu Fen, who was staring at the ground, couldn't help but twitch her shoulders. Li Fengmei chuckled and said, "So, it's sister-in-law Zhang who's in charge of things at the Xia family. But whether Xiaolan gets married or not, can her aunt decide for her?" Ugh, using Xiaolan's marriage as a threat. Zhang Cui seemed to think that the Lu family was an easy target. Xia Xiaolan was more concerned about collecting eels to make money, and her family's interference seemed trivial to her. She said, "Let me speak. I won't return to the Xia family, and I won't agree to my mother going back there either. Even if she was sold to the Xia family, she's repaid that debt over the years. Don't stare at me. Rumors are everywhere, and they've ruined my reputation, driving me to the brink of suicide. But what's the truth? Maybe the eldest aunt knows in her heart. First, I have no improper relationship with Zhang Erlai from Shipuzi village, not in the past, and certainly not in the future. Second, even if all the men in the world were dead, I wouldn't seduce any of Xia Ziyu's men. I won't accept these two big accusations on my head." Xia Xiaolan was tired of not clearing things up and wanted to make everything crystal clear. While the original owner might have had a flirty appearance, she hadn't actually behaved improperly. Her interactions with Wang Jianhua were mutual, and they hadn't crossed any boundaries, even when they were drunk. There were complexities and twists in this situation, and Xia Xiaolan was determined to settle things with Xia Ziyu and Wang Jianhua sooner or later. She looked at Xia Dajuan and couldn't help but sneer, saying, "Have you understood the situation? When I was driven to the brink of suicide by rumors and had no way out, did you ever feel any affection for your daughter? After all these days, have you ever thought of going to settle the score with Zhang Erlai? I guess not, so why do you think I should return to the Xia family? Why would I want to live as a pitiful dog begging for mercy when I could lead a dignified life?" Xia Dajuan had his mouth wide open, and Wang Jingui muttered, "With the way you behaved, who would dare to ask? Is your intention to let Hongxia bear these rumors without doing anything?" Wang Jingui was getting upset, and if someone had spoken ill of Hongxia like this, she would have grabbed a hoe and started a fight. Even Zhang Erlai would be beaten half to death to see if anyone dared to say anything. Wang Jingui realized that she had been led off track by Xia Xiaolan's words. She scolded herself. "My Hongxia is not improper. You can't blame her. Even if you have some unclear relationship with Zhang Erlai, it's not something you can just gossip about. Xia Dajuan, don't pay any attention to this girl. Let's take Xiaolan and her mother back with us. Let her apologize to your grandmother and make amends with Ziyu. We're all one family, after all." Zhang Chui was panicking. Wang Jinggui's nonsense could provoke Xia Xiaolan, and the priority was to calm her down. They needed to bring Xia Xiaolan back to the Xia family, and then they could smooth things over. She quickly said what Aunt San said was just in the heat of the moment. How could your grandmother have a grudge against her granddaughter? Even if it's your daughter, she didn't blame Xiaolan. Xiaoyu, did your sister blame you? Xia Xiaolan didn't want to listen to the two women's nonsense. She only asked Xia Dajuan, is it true? Should I go back and apologize to my grandmother and ask for Xia Ziyu's forgiveness? Zhang Chui desperately signaled to Xia Dajuan, who hesitated for a moment before admitting his thoughts. He said, your grandmother is ill, and if your sister isn't holding a grudge, you shouldn't act like nothing happened. If others have forgiven you, there won't be any more conflicts at home. Lu Yong was rolling his eyes, and Li Fengmei had never seen a father like this. It seemed that Xia Xiaolan had spoken so much, but this blockhead hadn't listened to a word. Xia Xiaolan felt that there was no point in reasoning with a blockhead like him. However, Lu Fan, who had been counting ants, suddenly looked up as if she had been pricked. She said, Xiaolan won't apologize. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear Xiaolan speak? She hasn't done anything wrong. People outside have insulted her, and even her own family is trying to push her to the edge. If no one stands up for Xiaolan, and you still want her to go back and apologize, who does she owe an apology to? Xia Dajuan, Xiaolan won't go back, and I won't go back either. I want a divorce from you. Chapter 38, Quick Divorce. Divorce. Lu Fen took the initiative to say she wanted to divorce Xia Dajuan. These days, divorces were quite rare, and for Lu Fen to initiate one was surprising. Outside the Lu family's yard, people were eavesdropping, and they were taken aback. Even Xia Xiaolan didn't expect her mother to be this resolute, let alone the three members of the Xia family across the yard. Xia Dajuan wondered if he hadn't beaten his wife recently, which made her no longer regard him highly. From Dahidi village to Qijing village, they had brought Xia Xiaolan and her mother back with them, along with their eldest sister-in-law and younger siblings. It could be considered a favor to Lu Fen. She hadn't given birth to a son, and Xia Dajuan wasn't happy about it, but he had never considered getting a new wife. Now, Lu Fen was actually saying they should divorce. Say it again, Xia Dajuan stood up abruptly, a burly man with a strong body, looking intimidating like a mountain. What are you doing? Do you want to cause trouble in the Lu family? Lu Yong grabbed a wooden pole from the side and held it in front of his sister. Li Fengmei rushed out of the house, shouting as she ran, they're fighting. Someone is bullying our Lu family, they think Qijing village has no one. Xia Xiaolan was surprised, but she walked over and grabbed Lu Fen's hand. Lu Fen gained support and courage from her daughter. This was the Lu family's place, not the Xia family's. She couldn't be afraid of the other side. Even if she were in the Xia family, Lu Fen would still speak the truth. She said, I'm asking for a divorce. Dajuan, we can't go on like this. Let's get a divorce. Xia Dajuan clenched his fists, ready to pull Lu Fen out, but Lu Yong picked up the wooden pole and started to strike, but he was ultimately shorter and weaker than his opponent. After a few blows, the wooden pole was taken from him by the other side. The two of them got into a fight, and Xia Xiaolan protected her mother behind her. Zhang Chui had a worried expression and said, Xiaolan, ask your mother to calm down. Can't we sit down and talk properly about this? Threatening divorce at the drop of a hat damages our relationship. Xia Xiaolan had a cold expression and said, then why didn't he think about damaging our relationship when he hit my mom? Aunt eldest, I didn't see you trying to mediate when he was hitting her. Zhang Cui wanted to say that it had been customary for women to be beaten since ancient times. Li Fengmei had already brought people from the village back. Several villagers separated the two men, and some even secretly kicked Xia Dajuan a few times. What's going on? Dare to come here and act arrogantly in our village. Let's beat this dog to death. A man who hits his wife is useless. He even dared to fight with Brother Yong. They came to our village and thought we were defenseless. A man in his 60s or 70s walked into the Lu family while they were being restrained. Uncle Da is here. Uncle Da, this Xiao guy is despicable. Don't talk. Uncle Da must have a plan. Uncle Da, whose name was Chen Wangda, was the village chief of Qijing village. The Chen family was a prominent one in the village, and Chen Wangda had been the village chief for many years. He had a lot of respect in Qijing village. Chen Wangda had been in the military when he was young, and although he hadn't achieved any great feats, he was a true veteran. Despite now serving as a village chief in Qijing village, no one knew what position his old comrade-in-arms had risen to. Chen Wangda's presence was not only influential in Qijing village, but also in the township and county. He had even been elected as a representative to the County People's Congress. In the past, when Lu Yong was idling away his time, he didn't dare to be too unruly in front of Chen Wangda. Uncle Da, you're here. Please have a seat. Lu Yong invited Chen Wangda to sit, and Chen Wangda didn't hesitate. Once seated, he turned to look at Lu Fen and said, although your family came here as outsiders fleeing famine and aren't under the jurisdiction of the Chen family ancestral hall, after living in Qijing village for decades, you are part of the community. Your parents are no longer here, and I have to be thick-skinned enough to act as an elder. Today, I'm willing to help you. Lu Fen, please tell Uncle Da if you want a divorce from your husband. Lu Yong rubbed his hands, his eyes moistened. The villagers didn't consider their family as outsiders, they had their share of farmland and benefits. Now, Chen Wangda was willing to stand up for Lu Fen, which made Lu Yong grateful. Lu Fen naturally felt the same way. Technically, she had married into another family 20 years ago, and she wasn't even surnamed Chen. Chen Wangda could have easily ignored her request, but she said, Uncle Da, I do want a divorce. Please be a witness for us. Chen Wangda nodded and said, I'll help this one time. If you ever regret it in the future, I'll only consider you a couple who had a falling out but managed to reconcile. Don't ask me to mediate again. Lu Yong, go get some paper, pens, and ink. Let's draft the documents today. Xia Dajuan, pinned to the ground by the villagers, yelled angrily, I don't agree. She married into our Xia family, gave birth to Xia family's children, and she's my wife. Zhang Cui and Wang Jinghua had not expected things to escalate to this point. They didn't know much about the situation in Qijing village, but seeing Chen Wangda's demeanor, they realized it was better not to cross him. He had come here to mediate and persuade Lu Fen and her daughter to return home, but somehow the discussion had turned to divorce. Xiaolan, please, talk to your mother. She's just saying nonsense out of anger. A divorced woman will have a tough life, her household registration is still in Dehidu village. You and your daughter don't even have any land in Qijing village, Zhang Cui urged. Zhang Cui wasn't concerned about Lu Fen and Xia Xiaolan, she didn't want these two to slip out of her control. Without lifting an eyelid, Chen Wangda said, it's not difficult to transfer their household registration back here. You don't need to worry about it, my dear ex-sister-in-law. After they've moved their household registration back, Qijing village will naturally allocate land for them. Even if Xia Xiaolan didn't care for a piece of land and had no intention of staying in the countryside permanently, Chen Wangda's words made her feel grateful. He was giving them support. Looking at the villagers who were treading on Xia Dajuan, as well as those outside the yard, Chen Wangda's statement that land would be allocated to Lu Fan and her daughter was undoubtedly met with mixed reactions. Not everyone would willingly agree to it, but no one was opposing it at the moment. Chen Wangda's high reputation made the people of Qijing village understand that, at this point, they needed to save face for Lu Fan and her daughter and present a unified front. They couldn't afford to let things fall apart. Xia Xiaolan didn't need to speak up. Chen Wangda's involvement had already settled the matter. Once the paper, pens, and ink were ready, Chen Wangda said, "We need someone to draft the documents." A young man stepped forward from the onlookers. Xia Xiaolan recognized him as Chen Qing, the village chief's grandson, who was also a high school student in the village. Whenever he saw Xia Xiaolan, he would blush. This time, he stood up straight and didn't shy away, giving off a sense of maturity. This wasn't a joke. In the rural areas of 1983, graduating from high school made one a literate person. Chen Qing had failed the college entrance exam this year, and after helping with farm work, he would return to school for another year of studying. High school students were not assigned jobs, so Chen Qing's only two options were to continue studying for college or return to the countryside and become a farmer. Chen Wangda would read a sentence, and Chen Qing would write a sentence. The document, with 3 copies, resembled a modern divorce agreement. However, there wasn't much property to divide between Lu Fan and Xia Dajuan since they only had 2 broken-down rooms. Xia Xiaolan didn't need to choose to stay with anyone. She had turned 18, and no one could control her. Zhang Cui kept trying to persuade, but Lu Fan remained unmoved. Xia Dajuan refused to sign or press his thumbprint, but Chen Wangda didn't care whether he agreed or not. He had someone grab Xia Dajuan's hand and press it onto the paper. Once Lu Fan received the agreement and looked at Xia Xiaolan, as well as her brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and found no objections, she didn't even spare a glance for Xia Dajuan. She dipped her thumb in red ink and firmly stamped 2 thumbprints. Chen Wangda handed a copy of the document to Zhang Cui and said, "This is your family's copy. 1 copy is for Lu Fan, and I will personally submit one to the County Civil Affairs Bureau for archival purposes. If you have no further issues, you can leave." Chapter 39, Celebrating the Divorce. The old man did a fantastic job. While strong and dictatorial qualities were not something Xia Xiaolan particularly admired, she had also held leadership positions in her previous life and understood that sometimes you needed to be assertive. She sincerely said, "Thank you, Grandpa Chen." After her rebirth, she had encountered a mix of good and bad people. From the lonely old Wan Tu, who watched over the cattle shed in Dahidu village, to the kind-hearted individuals who had helped her like Zhou Qing, Kong Wei, and Hu Zhuliang, and now the village chief Chen who had stood up for her and her mother, these people had extended their helping hands, despite having no blood ties to her. Xia Xiaolan silently remembered their kindness. Chen Wangda looked at her and said, "You're a good child. Live well with your mother in the future." Xia Xiaolan had started her own business, and Chen Wangda was observing her. This young lady didn't seem as shallow or fragile as rumors had suggested. She could endure hardships and run her business to earn what she deserved. With Chen Wangda's public approval, the mother-daughter pair could now firmly establish themselves back in Qijing village. "Uncle Da." Lu Fan's eyes welled up with tears. She held the divorce papers, and from now on, she and the Xia family would have no connection. How did Lu Fan feel about this? She had married Xia Dajuan at 16, and the years she had spent with the Xia family were longer than those with her own family. At first, their relationship had been good, but somehow they had ended up in their current situation. She had endured hardship, but she couldn't watch her daughter continue to be mistreated. Her sister-in-law, Li Fengmei, was right. The Xia family could control Xia Xiaolan through her. To escape this, a divorce was the best option. Lu Fen had found her courage, and even though she was nearing 40 and no longer capable of bearing children, with her dark, unremarkable appearance, she had decided to leave Xia Dajuan. The question remained, who would marry Lu Fen now? But when she thought about it, Lu Fen could rid herself of Xia Xiaolan, that troublesome little mistress. Among the three of them, Wang Jinghua was the only one secretly pleased with this outcome. The people of Qijing village were like sentinels, ensuring that the three of them left the village boundaries. Xia Dajuan had torn the divorce papers to shreds and thrown them into a roadside ditch. Zhang Cui knew that there were 3 copies of the document, so tearing up one copy wouldn't change anything. She said, "Dajuan, don't be hasty. When your siblings calm down, you can still make things work." Zhang Cui's words were dry, and she didn't even believe them herself. Wang Jinghua thought about how Lu Fen had seemed determined, and she had even said that she would submit the divorce papers to the County Civil Affairs Bureau. Who makes such a fuss over marital discord? Lu Yong must have struck it rich. With Lu Fen having her big brother's support, she had the confidence to get a divorce. Wang Jinghua was intensely envious, and she asked, "How will you explain this to mother when we get back?" The people of Qijing village had driven the 3 of them away. Lu Yong wanted to treat the villagers who had helped beat up Xia Dajuan to a meal and properly thank the village chief, Chen Wangda. Xia Xiaolan also felt that today was her mother's way of saying goodbye to the past and the beginning of a new life. She even postponed her business activities for now, joyfully saying, "Uncle, I'm going to buy groceries." Lu Yong held her back and said, "You go take care of your own affairs. Do you really need to show off by hopping around as a big girl in front of the guests later? Today, your uncle is treating you. Just wait for dinner tonight." When Lu Yong treated guests, would he make his niece pay for it? Even if Xia Xiaolan had money, she couldn't pay for this meal. It would be Lu Yong's treat. Li Fengmei had no objections either. After driving her daughter and her mother out, Lu Fen didn't know what to do at home. Having just divorced, she hadn't fully processed it yet. Xia Xiaolan took her mother out to collect eels. Once the 2 women had left, Li Fengmei opened the box by the bedside, and Lu Yong followed her, asking, "How much money do you have left there?" Lu Yong had earned money, but most of it had gone to Li Fengmei. He had made 3 trips in the last 6 months and brought home money twice, totaling about 700 or 800 yuan. He had also bought a new bicycle. It had been more than 1,000 yuan that he had brought back home during this time. Li Fengmei didn't need to count, she gave Lu Yong the exact figure. "There's 690 yuan left." In the past 6 months, Li Fengmei had spent a little over 100 yuan, including paying for Tao Dao's medical expenses and various household expenses like buying fertilizer. Lu Yong frowned, not because he thought Li Fengmei was spending too much money, but because he felt he wasn't earning enough. Zhang Erlai was arrested, and today we settled the Xia family's matter. I'll be going out in a few days. Don't be too frugal with the money. Don't skimp on necessary expenses. Dressing doesn't have to be too fancy, but don't be thrifty with our meals. Xiaolan is right, make bone broth for Tao Tao more often. It'll help him grow taller. Alright, I'll listen to you. For tonight, how about having 3 tables of guests? Tell me, what criteria should I use to invite them? 1 table should have at least 4 or 5 meat dishes. You can decide on the rest. I'll go to the county to buy some alcohol. How much meat do you want to buy? Li Fengmei quickly calculated in her mind. As long as she was generous with cooking oil, they could eat crucian carp and loaches, which were also considered meat dishes. Besides, they couldn't find good meat in the city right now. Xia Xiaolan had made delicious sweet and sour spare ribs the other day, so adding some potatoes to the spare ribs sounded like a good idea. She said, buy 3 pounds of meat, 2 pounds of spare ribs, and if there's pig liver, get some. If not, it's fine. Lu Yong would surely buy alcohol and cigarettes when he went into town, as is customary when treating guests to a meal. He'd also buy some sweets and snacks like candy and melon seeds. Li Fengmei gave Lu Yong 50 yuan. With this money, they could cover the cost of feeding 3 tables of people. Lu Yong borrowed a bicycle from someone in the village and wasted no time in riding to Zhuangcheng County. On the other side, the hungry Xia family of 3 returned to Dehidu village. When they went to Qijing village, they were full of confidence, but on their way back, they were dejected. To return home, they had to pass through Shipozi village. As they walked past, Xia Dajuan wished he could hide his head. The rumors about Xia Xiaolan and Zhang Erlai, the guy she was rolling in the hay with, came from Shipozi village. Xia Dajuan felt ashamed. As he walked through Shipozi village with his head down, Xia Dajuan suddenly remembered how Xia Xiaolan had spoken with a dark face, saying she had no connection with Zhang Erlai, and then asked him, her father, if he had ever sought revenge on Zhang Erlai. He hesitated and stopped in his tracks, saying, sister-in-law, who first spread the rumor about Xiaolan and Zhang Erlai having an improper relationship? Zhang Chui's eyes flashed, and she said, it's hard to trace the source of such things. People in the village saw it and talked about it. When someone asked Zhang Erlai, he admitted it. If there was nothing going on, could Zhang Erlai admit it? This time, Wang Jingguo was on his sister-in-law's side. She said, brother-in-law, I think Xiaolan is just too stubborn. She doesn't dare to admit her mistakes. Having thrown the little mistress out, Wang Jingguo and Zhang Chui exchanged words, one after the other. The two of them painted a picture of Xia Xiaolan being mired in mud, with no way out. Zhang Chui finally had to mention Xia Ziyu. She said, Xiaolan and Zhang Erlai were fooling around on the road. Xia Ziyu saw it. But Xia Ziyu didn't tell anyone. The rumors had indeed started spreading after Xia Ziyu and Wang Jianhua had left home for school. Xia Dajuan had never doubted his niece. Xia Xiaolan didn't want to acknowledge her biological father, and Xia Dajuan was deeply disappointed in his daughter. Having an improper relationship with a man and tarnishing the reputation of the Xia family, she confidently spouted lies. All 3 of them just wanted to leave Shipozi village as quickly as possible. However, someone stopped them. They all knew each other since they were from neighboring villages. This person had a curious expression and said, Dajuan, do you know that Zhang Erlai was arrested? They're cracking down on that stuff hard, and I don't think he'll be able to escape this time. Zhang Erlai was arrested, and Zhang Chui suddenly had a daring thought. When it came to having an improper relationship, they only arrested the men, right? What if Xia Xiaolan was also caught and put away for a few years? Then she wouldn't be able to make a comeback. Without any pretense, she grabbed the person's hand and asked, did Zhang Erlai implicate my niece? Will the police come to arrest her? Chapter 40, Worry for the Xia family, Joy for the Lu family. Big sister-in-law, Xia Dajuan, was shocked. While he was disappointed in Xia Xiaolan, he didn't want his daughter to go to jail. Zhang Chui had always been cautious, so her words were quite unexpected. Aren't you deliberately dragging Xiaolan into this? Zhang Chui felt a little embarrassed and said, I was too hasty. I was afraid Zhang Erlai might say something false. Xiaolan has absolutely no relationship with that scoundrel. However, the people from Shipozi village didn't believe her. They knew that the Xia family was submissive. Even if their daughter was mistreated, they wouldn't confront Zhang Erlai. The Xia family just let Zhang Erlai be arrogant, which in turn forced their daughter to suffer. What a bunch of pushovers. This person wanted to enjoy their embarrassment, and he grinned as he spoke. Zhang Erlai was arrested for burglary. Yesterday, they cracked down on street vendors in the county town. He had a sign hanging around his neck with his crime written on it. This worthless guy will definitely get a heavy sentence. The people in the village all dislike him. This time, they've finally dealt with this troublemaker. As long as Zhang Erlai stayed away from the village for a while, who would remember those rumors? Once the heat died down, she could marry into another village a bit farther away. This matter would be forgotten. Xia Dajuan, as a father, couldn't grasp the situation, but he was certainly happy that Zhang Erlai had been arrested. Zhang Cui smiled somewhat reluctantly, and Wang Jinggua's expression shifted back and forth, indicating that she was deep in thought. Is this the Xia family that has produced a university student? The people from Shipozi village shook their heads in silent disapproval. Xia Dajuan, feeling lost, said, Xiaolan and her mother don't know about this. I need to go and tell them. After walking a few steps, he remembered that he had just divorced Lu Fen. His daughter and her mother watched as the people from Qijing village beat him up, and they were quite indifferent. Xia Dajuan's happiness had evaporated. Dragging his heavy feet back to the Xia family, Zhang Cui had a lot to say, and Wang Jinggua seemed to be deep in thought. Xiao Lao Tai saw that only 3 of them had returned and immediately understood that they hadn't brought anyone back. Xia Xiaolan, with her strong-willed character, and her mother were holding on to their pride, so did they expect an old woman like her to personally go and bring them back? Xia Dajuan's heart sank. Wang Jinggua, who didn't know how to hide her emotions, said, Mom, second sister-in-law and second brother have gotten a divorce. Lu Yong brought a group of people from Qijing village to beat up second brother and forced him to put his thumbprint on some documents. The Xia family members couldn't believe it, but Xia Dajuan still had injuries on his body, and he wouldn't joke about such matters. Xiao Lao Tai immediately started lamenting and cursing Xia Xiaolan and her mother. Xia Xiaolan was a little floozy, and Lu Fen was a shameless woman. Why would my younger sister want a divorce? She must have been forced by the Lu family. Xia Changxing tried to save face, and Wang Jinggua, acting confused, said, Oh, and Lu Fen initiated the divorce. She was cold from start to finish, acting like she was doing the Xia family a favor. What a terrible person. Xiao Lao Tai's voice was loud, and her curses could be heard throughout the village. It was a rare event. Xia Dajuan's wife had returned to her parents' home for over 10 days, and now she was going through a divorce. The Xia family became the laughingstock of the village, and the jokes about them would last all year. Xia Dajuan felt dazed, and as a man, his self-esteem had taken a severe blow. He also made up his mind that if Lu Fen ever regretted her decision and wanted to return, no matter how pitiful she might appear, he wouldn't be swayed. Lu Fen's divorce news turned the Xia family's world upside down, and it was the talk of Dehidu village. Xia Changxing tried to comfort Xia Dajuan, saying a few dry words. Privately, he asked Zhang Cui to recount the situation once again. Is it true that they're divorced? That's for real. 3 identical documents were written, and both Dajuan and Liufen put their thumbprints on them. The head of Qijing village said they would submit the documents to the county's Civil Affairs Bureau. Zhang Cui was deeply concerned and added, on the way back, I also heard that Zhang Erlai was arrested for burglary, and they say he'll get a severe sentence. Do you think we should send a telegram to Ziyu? Zhang Erlai was arrested, but not for inappropriate relationships, so Xia Xiaolan wasn't implicated, and this card had been rendered useless. Before Xia Ziyu went to Beijing, He instructed them to keep a close eye on Xia Xiaolan. None of them had expected that Lu Fen would divorce Xia Dajuan, and Xia Xiaolan had no intention of returning to the Xia family. Xia Xiaolan had escaped their control. Zhang Cui couldn't resolve this situation, and Xia Changxing was clueless as well. Tomorrow, I'll find an excuse to go to the county, send a telegram to Ziyu, and inquire about Zhang Erlai's situation. In the Xia family, there was chaos. In Qijing village, the Lu family, with the help of their neighbors, set up 3 tables and invited the people who had helped them today to have dinner. They didn't only invite men, the women from the family also attended. They all understood not to bring children because, with the one-child policy being enforced for only 2 years, if they brought their children, 3 tables wouldn't be enough. The main room was set up with 1 table, and the village head, Chen Wangda, sat at the head of the table. He hadn't brought many people with him. Aside from his wife, there was only his grandson, Chen Qing. The guests were surprised by the sumptuous spread of food: stewed pork ribs with potatoes, stir-fried eggs with Chinese chives, dry-fried loaches, tofu and Christian carp soup, stir-fried pig's liver with green onions, and garlic-stirred vegetables. In the middle of the table was a large bowl of lamb stew noodles as the main dish. Lu Yong hadn't been able to find good meat, so he decided to use some lamb instead. The lamb stew noodles were piled high, with generous slices of lamb. It was a feast like none other, even during the Lunar New Year. Lu Yong had also placed cigarettes and liquor on each table, which surprised the invited villagers. "Yong, you're being too extravagant today. The dishes on this table are outstanding." Chen Wangda also enjoyed the feast and teased Lu Yong for wasting his hard-earned money. Lu Yong raised his glass and said, "Uncle Da, I'm genuinely happy today. Ah Fen is different from my little sister. She's used to adversity and always goes along with it. It's partly my fault for being young and foolish back then, not understanding the world. I had no means to support her. You know, my parents passed away early, and both my sisters didn't have the best marriages. It's all because I was foolish." The wine had yet to be drunk, but Lu Yong had already started his self-critique session. He wasn't lying. Chen Wangda nodded in agreement, saying, "You were quite foolish when you were young, but you've grown wiser after getting married. Your wife has put in a lot of effort." Li Fengmei was still wearing her apron and felt a bit embarrassed. Before marrying Lu Yong, she had been married once before, and her in-laws had criticized her for not giving birth for 10 years. She was eventually chased out of their house and later remarried through a matchmaker. Lu Yong was in his 30s by then, and he wasn't very sensible. Li Fengmei had cried countless times under the covers. Fortunately, the birth of their son gave Lu Yong a sense of responsibility. He began to earn money and became more considerate toward her. Lu Yong immediately expressed his gratitude to his wife for managing their household. Li Fengmei treated her younger sister and her niece well, and Lu Yong appreciated it. Chen Wangda then brought up the matter of Xia Xiaolan and her mother's household registration. He said, "I'll accompany you to take care of it these next few days, and get their household registration transferred back as soon as possible." Lu Fen felt a bit uneasy, but Xia Xiaolan poured her a glass of wine. She took small sips of it. The guests knew better than to speak their minds openly. They praised Lu Fen for persevering through hardships and assured her that better days were ahead. Xia Xiaolan and her mother sat together, and coincidentally, Chen Qing was sitting on the other side. Xia Xiaolan had an idea, and she said, "Brother Chen Qing, I have something I'd like to ask you later." Chen Qing, holding his chopsticks, was too nervous to pick up any food. He had never interacted with a girl his age like Xia Xiaolan. Chen Qing and Xia Xiaolan sat together. Chen Qing's face turned red. Thankfully, he had tanned from working in the fields, so it wasn't too noticeable. He wondered what Xia Xiaolan would ask him, and he nervously replied, "Okay," in a voice only slightly louder than a mosquito's. "Xiaolan, come over and talk to the uncles and aunts." Lu Yong called her over, and Xia Xiaolan happily ran to the other side. Chen Qing watched her back and felt his heart pounding.